The 2023 season is in the books, bringing an end to another remarkable year of NFL action.
You gotta fight for your right. Believe it, baby. I'll see y'all next year.
The Super Bowl featured two teams that we are used to seeing at the top of the game, but the 2023 playoffs introduced some new faces to the postseason. Here are the top 5 players from the 2023 NFL playoffs.
We're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
The Detroit Lions were the darlings of the 2023 playoffs, completing their rebuild process under Dan Campbell by storming to the NFC Championship game. Their wildcard round win over the Rams was an emotional one, giving fans their first playoff victory in over 30 years. It was also a significant win for Jared Goff, as he faced his ex-employer and knocked them out of the playoffs. Goff was added into the Rams trade for Matthew Stafford as somewhat of a throwaway. He was expected to be a bridge quarterback while the Lions figured out their future. And as it turns out, Goff has become one of the most key figures in this incredible turnaround job. From 3-13 in 2021 to 9-8 in 2022, and then 12-5 in 2023. I mean, Goff's efficiency as a passer and ability to elevate his skill players has been pivotal in helping the Lions become a leading contender in the NFC. Goff didn't throw any interceptions in the playoffs, as he passed for at least 270 yards in every game and had 4 touchdowns. The best praise that can be heaped on him is to say that the head coach Dan Campbell trusts him implicitly.
Things that I think about with Jared Goff: he's tough, he's durable, and most importantly, he's a winner. He has won in this league. I love his quiet confidence. I know he's hungry. Man, we were thrilled to have this guy. So without further ado, Jared Goff.
And when it came to icing the game against Los Angeles, it was Jared Goff that he looked to. On 2nd and 9, with the Lions' first playoff win since 1991 on the line, Campbell called a pass play to Amon-Ra St. Brown. The easy play in that scenario is to run the ball and give the opposition as little time as possible. Campbell trusts his guy, and he backed him to make the play. Goff delivered, and the game was over.
Introduce y'all to the man, the myth, the legend, the MVP frontrunner. Big trust.
Big trust.
Lamar Jackson.
They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me.
The 2023 season's MVP is up next, although you can't help but feel that he will be very disappointed with how the season ended. A strong outing in the divisional round was followed up with a dismal effort against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And honestly, after several overthrows and a pretty bad interception, the Ravens honestly never really came close to winning the game. Jackson entered this playoffs with questions that he had to answer to. His playoff record has been really questioned, honestly, and a lot of people were even starting to compare him to be the Dak of the AFC. And I mean, even thinking about it, the last time they were in the playoffs as the 1 seed, they lost to the Titans in the very first round. It appeared that Lamar had banished those thoughts with a vintage performance against the Texans in the divisional round of the 2023 playoffs. He completed 16 of his 22 pass attempts for 152 yards and 2 scores, whilst also adding 100 yards and another 2 touchdowns as a rusher. The Ravens swept aside the surging Texans, led by CJ Stroud, to convince all of the Ravens fans that heartbreak was behind them now. But I mean, how wrong they were. The Ravens looked inferior against the Chiefs in the conference championship game. Honestly, Jackson just wasn't able to put the team on his back when it mattered. And his playoff interception to end the game really showed that he still has some playoff demons to exercise. He is a worthy MVP for the year, but he needs to get some playoff wins under his belt if he's going to avoid the reputation of simply being the Dak Prescott of the AFC. Now, it's fair to say that it has been clicking for the 49ers offense in 2023. They have been one of the best units in the NFL ever since Christian McCaffrey joined the team halfway through the 2022 season, and their 396.9 yards per game in 2023 is the best in the league. There have been many doubts and many questions about the performances of Brock Purdy throughout this year, and really whether it was him or if it was McCaffrey that was the key piece to this offense. And don't get me wrong, Purdy played pretty well, and I mean, even in the Super Bowl, Purdy looked really, really good. But even if they did win the Super Bowl, McCaffrey is the MVP of this team. His 1,459 rushing yards and 14 rushing touchdowns are both good enough to lead the league, and his 564 receiving yards are second to only Breece Hall amongst running backs. And he didn't slow down in the playoffs either, posting at least 90 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in both the games that they played before the Super Bowl. Like, looking back at the playoffs, when the Niners needed a play, they didn't call Brock Purdy's number, they called Christian McCaffrey's number. With the 49ers down by 6 points in the divisional round and struggling to move the ball in the rain, it was McCaffrey who sprung a 39-yard touchdown run to get them back into it. He then punched in the winning score from 6 yards out with 1 minute left on the clock to send the 49ers to their 3rd consecutive NFC Championship game. And yet again in the NFC Championship game, McCaffrey once again found himself punching in the game-winning score towards the end of the 4th quarter. After an impressive drive from the 49ers landed them a 1st and goal from the Lions' 3-yard line. Very few teams have found a way to stop the elite running back around the goal line. His 21 touchdowns are tied for the most in the league with Raheem Mostert. 17 targets and 72 receiving yards across both NFC playoff games so far prove what a crucial part of the offense McCaffrey is. Like, I mean, if the guy isn't exhausting the defensive line from running the ball, then he'll just go through the air and they'll just throw it to him, and he puts in work on the routes he runs out of the backfield. And I mean, even looking back at the Super Bowl, even the Chiefs had a tough time stopping McCaffrey all game long. And I think it's fair to say that if the Niners would have won that game, McCaffrey would have been the MVP. Now, this next one, his spot might be a little bit controversial, but for taking your team back to the Super Bowl for the 4th time in 5 seasons and winning it back-to-back for the first time since the 04 Patriots, it's a well-deserved spot. And now, don't get me wrong, I know it hasn't been pretty this season for the Chiefs, but they're pretty familiar with football in January, and they turned it on just when they needed to. Patrick Mahomes is coming off of his statistically worst year since 2019, passing for just 27 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, yet they still won the Super Bowl. Like, this dude is literally the GOAT. Now, yes, a lot of that can be attributed to the unexperienced and honestly not a great wide receiver room, but in the offseason, I do expect them to make some moves by maybe signing Ridley or drafting another wide receiver too. And what's crazy is that in a down year, they won the Super Bowl again without Tyreek Hill and really without like any competent wide receivers. Mistakes from several of Mahomes' pass catchers earlier in the year have helped the team realize that it is better to just rely on their proven studs. Mahomes and Kelsey are back to their beautiful best, freestyling their way to incredible plays in the 2023 playoffs. Against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, they were simply just unstoppable. Kelsey caught all 11 of his targets from Mahomes, converting them into 116 yards and a touchdown. Mahomes' ability to buy time and predict exactly where Kelsey will be after a play breaks down makes them one of the hardest pairings to defend against in NFL history. Mahomes has done exactly what was needed of him during the 2023 playoffs. Before the Super Bowl, he has passed for over 200 yards in each game, along with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. He completed over 73% of his passes in the divisional round in the conference championship game, operating the offense with the composure and skill that you would expect from somebody who has been in 6 consecutive AFC Championship games. And in the Super Bowl, Mahomes looked as good and as composed as ever on his bread drive in overtime. It is literally not even possible to not compare him to Tom Brady, especially with the trajectory that they both have and how similar the starts of their career have been. I mean, even Brady himself found himself winning 3 Super Bowls early in his career. Mahomes already has 2 being back-to-back. But what's crazy is Mahomes is completely different than what Brady was when he was young too. He brings a level of creativity and athleticism to the quarterback position that Brady never could. Now, of course, Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, but Mahomes already might be the most talented. And at the age of 28, just 28, he looks as well on track to rival Brady's record-breaking 7 Super Bowl rings. The non-Green Bay Packers NFC North fans surely can't believe their bad luck when it comes to quarterbacks. After watching the Packers slip seamlessly from one Hall of Fame quarterback in Brett Favre to another in Aaron Rodgers, history appears to be repeating itself yet again. After waiting in the wings for a few years, Jordan Love finally got his chance to show what he could do as a starting quarterback. And needless to say, he did not disappoint. With the youngest wide receiver corps in the NFL, Love threw for 4,159 yards and 32 touchdowns with only 11 interceptions. He led the Packers to the playoffs where his good form continued. As the 7th seed, the Packers faced the daunting task of heading into AT&T Stadium to face the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys were unbeaten at home in the regular season, but they were no match for Love and the Packers. Love completed 16 of his 21 pass attempts for an impressive 272 yards and 3 touchdowns, earning himself a 99.3 quarterback rating. Love looked so good on national TV. He was making some insane throws off of his back foot, and he looked like a little bit Aaron Rodgers-esque when he was making some of these throws. He showed veteran level composure along with elite arm strength and accuracy. His insane performance alone was amazing, but when you combine it with Aaron Jones's insane performance also, the Cowboys honestly stood no chance. In a season where the Packers honestly were just trying to make it through the year, Love raised the ceiling of that team and set them up for a date in the divisional round with the Niners. Here, once again, Love looked suited for the big stage for most of the game. He handled the poor weather conditions in a talented 49ers defense well, leading the Packers to a 21-14 fourth quarter lead. Unfortunately, a clutch fourth quarter comeback from Brock Purdy in the Niner offense put them back in front. Love still had an opportunity to win the game, but he showed his first signs of inexperience by launching an unnecessary pass into the waiting arms of a 49er defender. Mistakes are bound to happen for quarterbacks in their first season as a starter, and Packer fans should still be delighted with Love's progression in 2023. And honestly, it appears that they might yet again have another Hall of Fame quarterback on their hands. CJ Stroud is the new kid on the block in the NFL, and he has really taken the league by storm. Countless records were broken on his way to a 4,108-yard season and 23 touchdowns with just 5 interceptions. Stroud has shown composure that is simply just never seen from a rookie quarterback, leading the Texans to a division title and a playoff appearance just 1 year after they had a 3-13 record. It has been an incredible turnaround, and this was all because of CJ Stroud and his capability to raise the ceiling of this Texans offense. Even after losing promising rookie receiver Tank Dell to a season-ending injury in Week 13, Stroud continued to pile up the wins and took his impressive form into the playoffs. As AFC South champions, the Texans earned themselves their first playoff game in years, and it was against none other than the Cleveland Browns and what many players thought that who would be comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco, who also boasted one of the best defenses in the league this year. Not to be overawed by the playoff arena or the Cleveland Browns defense, Stroud shone in his first postseason appearance. He completed 76% of his passes for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns, with most of that coming in the first half alone. The lack of any fight back from Cleveland meant that he was barely required to throw a pass in the second half, as the Texans earned themselves a surprise appearance in the divisional round of the playoffs. But it was in Baltimore that the fairy tale story came to an end for the Texans. Honestly, Baltimore's swarming defense just proved to be too much for Houston. They restricted Stroud to completing just 57% of his passes and just 175 passing yards. It was an emphatic 34-10 scorecard in the end, bringing an end to a remarkable rookie season for CJ Stroud. But regardless of the result, Stroud will have gained a lot from his playoff appearances in 2023. The second overall pick in the 2023 draft has proven it to be a generational talent, turning the Texans into playoff winners as a rookie, and the future is very bright in Houston. And if you guys made it this far, make sure you guys comment down below who is your favorite performance or favorite player from the postseason this year. Also, I just wanted to take a second to say thank you guys for helping us reach 10,000 subscribers. Honestly, I didn't know if we would ever be here, but here we are now. And honestly, this is because of you guys. So I appreciate you. And I will be doing a giveaway very, very soon to celebrate the 10,000 subscribers for you guys. So again, thank you guys so much for helping me get to 10,000 subscribers. This is honestly a dream. And I just wanted to reach out and just say thank you guys. And again, if you made it this far, make sure you comment, like, subscribe. We're going to be putting out more content this year, more football content, obviously. And honestly, just wanting to keep growing the channel. And the next check mark is going to be getting to 100,000 subscribers. Now, I'll catch you on the next one.